On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 1990. We're going to be taking a look at David Cassidy, and he's going to be performing Lyin to Myself. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So, we are going to be jumping into this one, so if you guys want to watch it the whole way through without me interrupting it, then there's a link in the description below as always, but the video's up on screen, so let's see how David gets on.
Welcome, David Cassidy.
And I'm just going to jump in here because this is a really interesting video from the perspective of myself, as you can tell from my hair, being into the kind of 80s sound. This is 1990 and really does have that almost melodic hard rock feel to it. And you know, maybe more pop rock, but we've got some really heavy guitars in there, and one heavy guitar playing lead, where we've got a dive bomb that we just heard. So, genre-wise, it really does show how David, you know, being part of a band, and the way that he was perceived, especially earlier in his career, I think must have been really difficult for him, because he's a musical artist, and I know that when he first started out and, you know, getting known from acting and then moving into music, it's actually an interesting point to bring up that there are some people who start off, you know, in movies or in TV, and they then are, you know, very well known, they might be young, and then they are pretty much given a music career, even though they're not musicians. They don't have the, you know, propensity for it. They don't have the talent for it. And they're just thrown out in front of, you know, an audience who will just buy whatever they release. But with David, you had the case that he was very much a musician. And you would say first and foremost, you know, being a producer and a songwriter and a multi-instrumentalist. These aren't things that, when you're just thrown into the limelight and then you start doing music, they're not things that you automatically have the ability to do. He was very much marketed in a particular way, and this is always the problem, that when you get into the music industry, they're just going to try and sell you however they think is the most efficient way to make the most money possible. And I think David, as an artist himself, really did struggle through his career to try and drop the marketing that the record labels had done for him previously. The image of being seen as, you know, a teen star, or, you know, seen as being a teen idol, all those kinds of things. Unfortunately, that's just how he was marketed. So it's great to have a look at something like this, because you can see that he's in a band, and you know, he's playing live, he's playing an instrument, he's singing, he's interacting with his bandmates, and you can tell that if you went to see David live, you just get a great show, and above all, just great musical ability and just a great live performance all around. I just want to point out the guitar as well, because I'll take it back to the beginning. We have this really cool reverse dive bomb. We have, so we're actually pushing down on the whammy bar first and going up to the note, and we've got quite a wide whammy bar. It might not be that dramatic, but you can vibrato if you want, but we've got that kind of thing going on. Let's have a listen. And yeah, we get that same thing. So we go, and just a straight run up. And again, that little push down on the whammy bar before we play the first note of the riff. So yeah, just a really cool sound. And when we've then gone, just bouncing up and down on that whammy bar. There's kind of a little hint there as of that harmonic. Really subtle if I'm bringing it in. Kind of a little bit more like that. But yeah, it's just a case of kind of playing the riff and you know, not going too far with it. Let's listen on. And we've got this G straight ahead rhythm. It's not that heavy. Into the E, and that would be E minor, C. And we kind of have a change from major to then minor. And we also get this kind of pulse going on with the rhythm. We have this occasionally comes in. You know, just to keep it all moving along. Nothing but a little plaything. The love back was only a sting. Baby, when you win, hardly bit of ten in me. It's just a flesh wound in my mind. It ain't no tragedy that I'll just end up listening to the song again. But we've got this little run up. You know, and I love the simplicity of the rhythm and the way that we're just jumping from, you know, we're not kind of overplaying, we're not arpeggiating chords here, it's just straight ahead. When I'm talking about the voice and the way that David is singing here, we do have in the chorus a D5 actually, you know, which is, you know, really high up there. But David's going to be hitting the A4 in the chorus. But the important thing to point out is that he's not hitting this A4 going, I'm lying to myself, you know, and being really light with it and, you know, sounding falsetto-y. He's hitting it in chest voice, and you've got to do that because of the sound of the composition, but just the genre, the way that we've got heavy guitars in there. You can't go light with this. So it means that he's got to go, I'm lying to myself, I'm lying to myself. So he's kind of got to lean into that, lying to myself. And you can't duck that. You know, you can't fake hitting the high note in the chorus here, because if you went, I'm lying to myself, it would just sound weird, the dynamics would all be off, and people would think, what are you doing? It just wouldn't sit with the backing and the mood. David is using his chest voice register here, and these are not easy notes for guys to be able to sing in this register. In that chorus as well, we have that really cool tail off in the vocal where David is kind of hitting those pitches on the way down. So we've got that lying to myself every night, kind of like that, you know. Really cool control in order to do that, to hit these notes, but we will jump back into it. I think we're about to rejoin it where we have our kind of dive bomb that comes in. I think it was that. Or might have been a bit cleaner like that. Anyway, let's jump into it.
I will lie here, alone in this bed, broken record of the voice in my head. She said, any real effect on me? It's not a thing that I would change. No, not much, only everything just to have you again. I'm lying to myself every night. Without you, baby, nothing's been right. No matter what I say, can't make you go away. I'm lying to myself. I can't deny it anymore. Gotta get you back in my life, 'cause that's all I'm living for. Lying to myself every night. Without you, baby, nothing's been right. No matter what I say, can't make you go away. I'm lying to myself. I'm lying to myself. You're the only one, not fooling anyone. I'm lying to myself.
And there we have it. Another thing to point out that I really like about the composition is that change that we have to the E at the end of the chorus, because we have this same melody that, from the G into the C. And here, when we have I'm lying to myself, you know, if you go to myself, you know, we're kind of just resolving to the G. So, you know, it sits in really nicely there. But when we go at the end of the chorus to the E, it makes all the difference, because we're going so now, because the chord's changed underneath, obviously it's going to give a totally different colour to the same note that we're hitting. Just to mention as well that this song in particular, Lying to Myself, made it into the top 40 of the US charts, so it was a big hit in 1990. I do want to just jump into the lead guitar solo as well, because we've got a really nice tone going on and great playing as well. So relatively short solo, but we've got this intro and it was something like that. Let's have another listen. Ah, cool, we've got this. And then we go. So we kind of go more minor there, because we started off in major. And a little pinched harmonic there. Kind of that, yeah. Again, it's a lot heavier, you know, once you start putting in pinched harmonics, and we've got the tone to do that. That's another important thing to point out, is that in order to get pinched harmonics, you want to make sure that you've got a lot of distortion on your guitar, sustain as well, just to help you find them to begin with, because they are quite difficult to do. All you're trying to do is pick the string and then catch the string with your thumb as you follow through, and then you'll get that pinched harmonic sound. But let's just finish it off. Okay, yeah, that is difficult to hear, that last part, what the run was, but it sounded like we had a kind of little run up. And just to finish with, whenever you see pictures of David from back in the day, even in his early 20s, he would be pictured holding a guitar. He obviously wanted to, you know, be in a band and maybe front a band, but because of that previous promotion, it means that he never really got seen as that kind of artist. So yeah, it must have been very difficult for him as an artist, because you don't really get to choose what you're into. You're just into it, and no matter what anybody else says, you know, you might have been successful in one genre, but if your heart really lies with something else, then yeah, it's very difficult to, you know, even live with that. But, you know, throughout the 70s and, you know, in the actually 1975, this is important to bring up because he had a big hit with I Write the Songs, and he was the first artist to have a hit with that song, and that turned into just a song that Barry Manilow would be known for. Yeah, everybody would expect to hear that at a Barry Manilow gig. He just really took that on, but David did that first, and it got to number 11 here in the UK. So yeah, it was a huge hit, and George Michael has cited David Cassidy as a huge influence on him, and the reason for that, or you know, a huge part of that would have been where he worked with him. George Michael supplied backing vocals on The Last Kiss, and that was back in 1985. So I think David was one of those guys that within the industry was really well respected, and people saw him as a musician, as an artist. But then in the public eye, he was seen very much as something else because of the way that he had been marketed. He also performed on Broadway and the West End here in London. He had huge success throughout his career in separate decades, and I mentioned that album in 2001, Then and Now, which was, yeah, a platinum selling album internationally and got into the top 5 here in the UK. But at least now we can have a little look back at performances like this, but lots of performances and songs that he released as a solo artist to see that, yeah, he was multi-talented, multi-instrumentalist, like I've already said, the things in this video, and having the ability to sing different genres, because there's no doubt that this is definitely a heavier sound to a lot of the earlier stuff that he released. But anyway, thank you guys so much for requesting this video for me to take a look at, and keep the suggestions and requests coming in the comment section below. As always, let me know what you guys think, and if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!